welcome back to another lap guide. Today we'll be taking the Super Formula Lights car around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit with this beautiful new model on iRacing. Here's my hot lap. Alright, heading down the main straight now. It's the first corner at Spa, so today a wet lap guide, as it's high chance of rain at the circuit. I'm on the, as you can see, the baseline wet setup, which we'll be using in the fixed series. So braking for the first corner now. So the wet line here is not fully offline because you still... Let's work ourselves back a bit, okay? Long straight afterwards, we want a good exit. How do we get a good exit? On throttle early. How do we get on throttle early without sliding? We have the wheel straight. What you need to do to get the wheel straight, we need to get the car rotated. To get the car rotated, we need to get, the front tires onto a grippier bit of track, so kind of past the rubber line, which is this slippery bit here, because in the wet, the polished parts of the track or the rubber, the water sits on top of that rather than going into like the more granular abrasive parts of the track, and also just has a bad reaction sometimes with different types of rubber as well. So with that in mind, we want to be braking off the rubber line, which is over here, but there's no point going further than just about this point, because if you're out here, then you're just making the corner much tighter for yourself. So make sure you're being straight when you hit the brakes. You can see here I'm about, is that a car width and a half away from the left-hand side of the track? Dead straight on the brakes. A bit before the 50-meter board on the left. Relatively hard on the brakes. You can be really efficient on this car with all the aero on it, even in the wet. Down to first gear. Run a bit deep. You can be a bit tighter than this as long as you go past the rubber, which is about here. So if you go past here with your front tires, if you get to about here or here or here, then it's all good. The main thing is it'll be go deep enough so we can put a little lock on and not be worried about spinning, basically, and get the wheel straight nice and early for that exit. Lock on throttle, wheel straight for the exit. Use all the track on the exit. Yeah, okay, you'll meet the rubber a bit, but it's not a high-powered car. You'll be okay. Don't use the exit curb. Bring the car back over to the right-hand side of the track now, just trying to shorten the distance before a rouge. A rouge is super tricky on iRacing in the wet. So first thing we're going to do is get the car over to the right-hand side of the track, as we've done here. Now turning, we're looking to, you can actually see it very visibly. This is the rubber line here, this slipperier, lighter surface, okay? This darker bit is the bit of the track we're trying to get to. Unfortunately for Rouge and iRacing, as you can see, this is most of the track. You can go here, but then you're just going to drive into that curb and then this, and then you're going to go in that wall or something. So we've actually got to get to here. But to get to here, we've got to go over a wet curb and the wet line on the entry and maybe a puddle. So hence why it's so much fun. To try and, well, the best advice I can give you here is, at least with this area, you'll be going in 5th gear. Just hold 5th. Try and kind of manage it. You can run the curve if you want, but it'll probably upset the car. You can see here, I just try and get next to it. Main thing is that you go straight as possible over this bit. If you're straight, it doesn't matter that we have no grip, because you're not trying to change the momentum of the car too aggressively. You're not trying to brake. You're not trying to turn. You're not trying to get on throttle. So if you're not doing those things and trying to really upset the car, it should be fine. It's like going through a puddle on the road, or you know what aquaplaning is to a small extent. So as long as we're straight over the low grip part, we're all good. So try to be straight up to here while carrying as much speed as possible to rotate the car on this point. That's kind of the basics for the wet on iRacing, I would say. So just carry as much speed as possible, rotate the car around here, and then go. Okay, just lifting in 5th gear. As soon as I get my left tires, you see, I didn't even get the whole car onto the grippy part of the track. As soon as I got my left tires onto the grippy part of the track, turn, full throttle. It's uphill, remember, so just get on full. As soon as you get that grip on your left-hand side tires, super aggressive. You've got to get the run up the hill. Now smooth, don't run the rubber too much. Don't use the outside curb, that'll definitely hurt you. Stay to the right side of the track, reduce the distance there, and just kind of sit in the middle of the track. I don't think it really makes a difference in iRacing, but quite often with a lot of racetracks, they rise in the middle, and because of that, the water disperses. So you'll actually have you'll be running through less water in the middle of the track, so it can be a bit faster in a straight line. But for here anyway, we want to be about mid-track for our braking zone into the com. So into the com now. Very similar to La Source, turn 1, with how we're going to be braking here. Not fully left, not fully right, middle of the track pretty much. Just as far left as we can go without risking being on the rubber line for braking. Smash the crap out of the brakes. Really, really hard brake through this section. Carry the speed. Now we're going to cross over the rubber. Unfortunately, being a combination corner and a bit of a chicane, you're going to run over the rubber at some point. You can't really go deep and cut back like a 90-degree corner or a hairpin, or even like we found a Rouge, right? So here, we're going to have to be on the rubber. So you brake off the rubber, carry speed, just be smooth with the car. Have it quite dead. I'm leaving it in 3rd because that's quite safe. Car's going to be low grip at this point, a little bit of throttle just to manage it. Don't go full, easy to spin up the tires. Just kind of manage the car. This is why it's important on that braking zone, gain as much time as possible on the brakes, because you're not going to gain it anywhere in this right-left bit. It's just clumsy, to be honest. It's more about keeping some speed up, not being too aggressive on the car, and trying to bring it back to the left-hand side for this last part of the chicane. So bring it to the left. So we're trying to kind of just get our rights just off the rubber here. Bring the car over to the left, and now the rubber's going to turn right, the normal dry line. We're going to go deep. We're going to lift. We're going to rotate the car off the rubber. And as soon as we get it rotated, bang, straight on the throttle. Again, same stuff as what we did at Rouge. Get the car straight, lock off when we get to full. That's the main complaint people always have. I've got no traction. I was spinning in the wet. Make sure the wheel's straight. If the wheel's not straight, think backwards. What was I doing earlier in the corner that meant that I couldn't get the wheel straight when I was on throttle? Okay? Always work back from that in the wet. So bring the car back over now to about mid-track. Similar again, this corner very easy to lock up, and the rubber line kind of comes towards us here. The rubber itself's not as bad, I think, on this corner, but it's just a bit tricky with the shape of the corner now down into Rouvage, Bruxelles, whatever you want to call it. Now here, we're aiming to be here. This is a bit tricky because, again, you have to go through the rubber line and you're braking downhill, so it's very easy to lock up and run wide onto the painted part of the track, which is bad in the wet, so try not to do that. But we just want to run out to this darker part of the track here. Be as straight as possible until you get to the rubber again. So I'm turning a little bit, but now I'm off the rubber. Just then the car's going to grip up. See, it's a bit sketchy, right, being downhill. Same in real life, but just a tricky corner. What can I say? Get on throttle now, get the car turned. Unfortunately, it's a very long turn. Like we're still turning, so I can't get a lock off. What do I do to manage the rear? Get on throttle, shift up to 3rd. So I just pull 3rd there because I know I'm not going to be needing 2nd anyway, because by the time I can get the wheels straight or straighter, I'll I'll be off by bouncing off the rev limiter in a second. Just pull third so you can be more confident on the throttle. Force the car out wide. Stay off the rubber there. As we've done here, now we've got the wheel straight, full throttle. Bring the car to the right-hand side. Okay, we're braking on the rubber, whatever. There's not much rubber here because it's barely a braking zone. But just make sure, again, you're straight, run deep. Rotate the car, again. Lift, full throttle, force the car out to the right-hand side there, use all the track. You can like touch curbs lightly like that in the wet, some of these ones that aren't too bad. Just make sure you don't have too much load on. If you have a lot of load, that's how you get a big snap and then easily into the wall. So just try and be smooth when you run onto them. Okay, braking out for Puon. Again, only slightly off the rubber line here. More high-speed corners like this, you're not going to lose as much efficiency because you're not doing as much braking, right? If it's a long braking zone, that whole time period, you're going to be, like we'll get to a bus stop, the whole time period, you're going to be effectively braking and losing time for a long distance, right? If you're on the grippy part of the track or the non-grippy part of the track. Here, there's like no braking, so you're not going to have a big delta there. What's more important is that we're actually to the right, so we can open up the corner more and get off the rubber earlier. So with that in mind, basically on the dry line almost, just go straight. Again, wait till we get off the rubber. Small brake there. Off the brake. As soon as you get on the throttle, just carry speed. Pick up the speed. Full throttle now. Get the car straight when we'll rejoin the rubber here at the edge of this curb. That curb you definitely don't want to touch. That'll drag you off or fire you off, so be careful with that. Then hold it out close to the outside curb. If you turn in here, easy to get a snap, so just be patient. Look around here. Stay off the rubber. Stay off the rubber. Smooth the steering. Now get the wheel straight. Okay, into Fagner or Piff Paff now. Really fun section this. Braking around the start of the entry curve on the left-hand side here, or just after that, as I'm always trying to push that. Braking a bit more. This one's quite good to look at telemetry, so we'll just go and do that quickly. Alrighty, so now looking at that first part of Fagner as we go into Delta now, looking at telemetry here, you can see there's quite a interesting brake shape in how you want to attack this corner in the wet, because as opposed to last week in the dry when we were trying to focus on get that efficiency, get off quick, get that brake release, in the wet we've got to just try and push the braking all the way in, and I can only really steer the car really late into the corner once we've gone off the rubber. I'm just trying to earn time on the brakes, and also we're effectively driving a lower grip car, right? We've gone from like this really high-end single-seater to now in the wet, it's almost like not quite a GT car, but you know what I mean. Everything's a lot slower, so the braking's a lot less aggressive, and so you'll see I get onto the brakes slower. That's the first thing, and the reason why we're doing that is because in the wet tire is softer. So when you hit a slick tire and you hit the brake, it's like that. It just bites into the surface because it's a smooth surface on another flat surface, right? But with the wet tire, you've got the tread, and the tread has to compress. So with that, you can't quite smash the brakes as hard. So it's going to be a bit more like that onto the brake. So that's why it's a bit of a ramp up there. Don't be silly with it, but you can see it's not quite dead straight. It's only fractional, but it does make a difference. A little bit slower. There's a bit less grip. It's easy to get locking in the wet. Again, that's why the brake bias always goes back in the wet. I actually took it back a bit off the fixed setup as well, down to about 52, 51%, something like that. It'll be usually about 4% further back than the dry. The reason for that is because you can't get the weight over the front as much because there's not as much. You can't generate as much load because there's not as much grip. So the weight doesn't go over the front axle as much, which means the front brakes comparatively to the rear don't do as much work. Therefore, the bias, and that's why, as you see, we've got less grip. The front brakes are doing less work. We need to be a bit flatter with our brake rather than this big brake here. We're doing all the work at the start of the braking zone. So a bit slower onto the brakes there. Quite often with wet brake shapes like this, you'll see a very flat middle of the brake, where you're just trying to maintain the pressure, and the grip change is not as big as in the dry. Like in the dry, you quite obviously see bigger grip changes. Not so much in surface, but in the car, like in terms of the attitude, because the car pitches more, and then the pitch comes out of the car. You get more weight transfer, and you have more change in aero because you're going from a higher speed to a lower speed faster. But because we don't have that, you can see it's a lot more flat because it's all a lot more mechanical. Modulating the brake here, you can see I'm just controlling the brake. At this point, I'm crossing over the rubber. That's why you see I drop the brake a little bit, because if I keep the brake pressure up, I'll just lock up basically because the grip's now dropping away. So I just drop the brake a little bit, still stopping the car, letting it run in deep. And I'm being really patient on the steering. You can see I start steering now. I'm dead straight, and I start steering about now just a little bit, but I don't really put on any meaningful lock, about 10% until this little bit here. At this point, I'm off the rubber. down at this bit here where it's about 12% throttle, 12% steering as well. And now that I'm off the rubber, that's when I'm just using the brake to turn the car. Whereas last week I was showing you a corner where that brake release was really helping us turn the car. Here you can see in the wet, what I'm really trying to do is just keep the nose down, trailing the brake in. And then there's a little bit of release here. Everything's a lot more gentler, a lot more subtle in the wet. Just trying to be smoother with the car, and then quickly back to throttle just to kind of set the rear end of the car. All right, so now we've got the braking done there. We're just looking to run deep, okay? Aim for this part of the corner. Again, similar technique, same stuff. Brake in a straight line. Run out to the point where we're off the rubber. Rotate the car. Run really deep. You can run so deep here. Be brave. Trust me, be brave. Almost the dry braking point. On throttle, keep the car left. You might think, oh, you're on throttle so early. If I was on throttle later, I would have been here. Okay, I would have been straighter, but I would have been on the wrong part of the track. This way, my left tires are still on the less slippery part of the track, okay? So we're gripping there, we're using the grip. Now we're going to cross over. Well, we're just going to hang on to it. It's going to move around a bit. Bit of fun, hey? Bit of drifting. Force the car again wide. I probably didn't need to brake there. Just a lift. Run the car deep. Carry speed. Full throttle now. Keep the car out there. Don't run on the exit curve. Bring the car back to the left, similar to Pull-On. Don't worry about, like, if you brake on the wet line here, what are you achieving? You're just pointing that way into a corner. It's got a long exit. Not helpful. Get over to the left. Aim to be here. Rotate the car off the rubber. Nice little brake. Rotate the car. Put all the lock on now. Properly turn the thing. Bang. Off the steering, on the throttle. Really shorten those corners up. Again, patient. This is very similar to the second part of Pull-On, okay? Very, very similar. Just be patient. The later you can turn here, the straighter you'll be. Like, if you turn in early, you're going to have more lock on exit because you can't get it off. And then you're going to rejoin the rubber. You're going to have a snap. You're going to be in the barrier. And we're all going to be none the wiser, okay? So we just want to be patient. Keep the car out. Carry the speed. Keep your foot pinned once you've got the tyres up to temp, and just keep it up to the white line there. Okay, bring the car to the right-hand side now. You can get a bit of distance doing this, actually. In this section now, they're right to bunch them on. Straighten the wheel. Nothing much going on here. Up to 6th gear now. Okay, really important at this point, just to stay off the rubber again, it should be easily flat. Launch them on in this condition. As long as you have your right tyres off the rubber, no issues at all. And braking for the bus stop now. You can, again, push the braking pretty late here. Braking just before the start of the curbing, or this grating here. I think it's possible to go even deeper as well, but you can be very aggressive on the brakes. Down to 1st gear. Rotate the car, keep it tight. You might think, oh, why not run off the rubber? You're giving yourself a lot of work to do. Oh, I have to turn right and then left. Just try and keep it tight. I know we're on the rubber in this bit. We're so low speed at this point. It's not the end of the world. Like, okay, oh no, I'm doing 60 Ks instead of like 64 or something. It's not the end of the world. It's much more important to get the exit out of the next bit and really push the braking rather than try and earn time carrying speed over this apex. We just want to make sure we get the car turned, okay, at a low speed as possible. Now, you can see I'm not doing the full prep like I would starting a lap. For the full wet line, you might think, oh, I need to go fully wide to open up and get it straight. As long as you get your tires off the rubber to rotate the car, which is about there, you'll be good. This is not good, okay? Don't drive in this area of the track, but aim about here. See in a moment. Rotate the car. So I'm off the rubber with my front tires. Rotate the car. That means I can get the lock off. Even when I hit the rubber, it doesn't matter because I've got the lock off. That's the most important thing. Keep the car in a straight line up to the finish line, and that is a lap at Spa. All right, so that brings us towards the end of the video now. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. And you can also find a link to the Coach Dave Academy Discord, where you can find more information about how to get setups, look at Delta, and find coaching from people like myself and a lot of other fantastic people at CDA. My name's Bart. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next week. See ya.